Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives and business. We have a very special guest here today. She comes all the way from California, and she is here to teach us resilience and how we can move forward in 2021 with all the obstacles we are enduring. What if one day you were living the American dream? It's a beautiful day, you are driving, you have this wonderful life, you have a great career, you're a mother, a wife, and all of a sudden one day you are driving home and you get hit by an SUV, and all of a sudden your life turns into tragic in a second. And then you have to make a decision if you're going to take off one of your legs. And what if you were a personal trainer, well fit, beautiful, living the California dream? We have a very special guest with you today because she had to endure those decisions. She went through 34 surgeries and she had to deal with chronic pain, and she realized how many other people were dealing with the same thing, and she had to grit and move forward, which she wrote the book, Grit and, I'm going to grab that real quick to grab that, Grace.
Yes, true grit and grace.
Grace. And she has been able to help people all over the world. She is a sought out speaker, keynote speaker. She's did a TED Talk. She's on many of the talk shows, trying to share her stories and connect with people and help other people build resilience. I want to introduce to you Amber Largo, who comes all the way from California to share her story and to help us, many of us that may be suffering even through this pandemic, how we can build resilience and grow in 2021. Thank you for being here today, Amberly.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And wow, what an incredible introduction. Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here. And my intention to share everything that I've learned, especially over the past 10 years, about resilience and just being mentally tough and building grit, because I think a lot of us are, with the pandemic and what's going on in the world, are struggling right now with a lot of change. And so it's my intention to share everything I've learned from so many failures, from hitting rock bottom. And so I just am honored to be here. Thank you.
Well, even looking at you, you look like you come from California, I will have to say. Beautiful. I want to share, let's go back. I know you wrote the book on that, and people can find that on Amazon. You're going to share where they can be, they can get that copy of your bestseller. I want you to share what happened on that 2010. You're living this California dream. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be losing a leg and what you had to go through. So tell us who you are and why you started building this, this business to help other people thrive and build resilience.
Well, thank you again for having me. And yeah, I think a lot of people had their lives turned upside down, people out of work, figuring it out how to, like me, being at home, doing virtual school with my kids. And yes, I'm in California, but I'm originally from Texas and moved here when I was 18 to pursue my dream at being a professional dancer. And so my whole life was fitness, and I was sponsored by Nike. I was nationally recognized as a coach. If you went into like CVS or Rite Aid, you could find several vitamins and the label would have my picture on it. I was featured in Shape and in Health magazine. And so my whole life was all about fitness, and I worked hard to build my career. And I was coming home from work on my motorcycle when I was hit by an SUV. Now, when I woke up from a coma, I learned that I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation. And that 1% was really my glimmer of hope that got me through 34 surgeries and months in the hospital and thousands of hours of excruciating physical therapy. But the real journey began when I was home from the hospital and went in for a doctor's visit. And he looked at me and he said, "Well, you've got something very serious." And I was kind of like, "Well, yeah, I got hit by an SUV." He said, "No, you have complex regional pain syndrome."
Have
And
you
I'm
ever
like,
even heard of
"Okay."
that before? When I heard that
I
in your
had
book, I
no
was like,
idea.
yeah.
Yeah, no idea what that was. And but then his next words stopped me dead in my tracks. He said, "You're never gonna live the life as you know it. You are going to be permanently disabled. You need to go home and get back in your wheelchair." And I said, "Okay, well, for how long?" And he said, "Forever.
That must have
Your
been
life."
shocking for a dancer. You were a runner. You were physical fitness. You look like the California dream, to be honest.
Oh, well, you're
You know what I'm
so
saying?
kind.
I, I,
I really, when this accident happened, I realized for the first time that my whole entire life was based, my self-worth was based on the way I looked and how much money I made, what I could provide for my family. And when that is all taken from you, like in the blink of an eye, I'm now deformed from the hip down. My right leg's deformed, my ankle's fused, my calf muscle is in the front of my leg. And then to be diagnosed with a disease that's dubbed the suicide disease because there's no known cure and it's ranked highest on the pain scale. So when I found out that it's never going to get better, that there's no cure for this, I'm going to be in pain for the rest of
what
my
causes
life.
it? What causes it? Is it the? Share with us what that is. That pain.
CRPS, well, first of all, I made the mistake of going home and Googling it, which I do not recommend for anyone to do because it is just the pictures, the stories. It basically, I felt like my life is over. I felt like I had been handed a life sentence. And I thought, wow, what is this? There's no way that this can be my life. There's no way that I have this disease. And so I went to another doctor and they're like, "Yep, you have it." And I still didn't believe it. So I went to a third doctor and he said, "Yes, you have it and you need to take radical action on it now if you want to get better." And what it is, it's caused by trauma. So you can get it. It's mostly common in women for some reason, and mostly
Really?
common in women from the age like 30 to 45, I think is what the statistics say now. But it's caused by trauma. So you can get it from a surgery or a broken bone. And I got it because my leg was just completely shattered into pieces. I mean, it took 2 years for the bone in my right leg to grow together. I had a
But you were in
non-union
the
for 2 years.
hospital for months. But when you're laying there in the hospital and you had what, a 1% or 10% for
No,
your
I had a
leg?
1% chance of saving my leg. So when I was in a coma, doctors wanted to go ahead and amputate. And it was my husband who said, "You're not going to amputate. I want her to wake up out of a coma with both of her legs. I want that to be her decision." And so when they told me 1%, I think in order to be resilient, you really have to choose carefully what you put your attention on. And I could have very easily gone, "Oh, well, there's 99% chance," and focus on that and not fought to save my leg. But running was my therapy. It was my drug of choice. It's all I knew. I wanted to be able to chase after my daughters. And I know that there are plenty of people that are amputees that can do that. And at the time, I didn't know that it was going to take 34 surgeries to actually save it.
Right.
I was just focusing on the 1%. And that was really my glimmer of hope that got me through each surgery. Well, that with a lot of grit and by the grace of God that I didn't get any infections and I got through that. But yeah, I chose to focus on that 1%. And when they said that, I'm like, well, there's still a chance. And so we found a doctor. My husband actually Googled limb salvage. He's retired commander with the California Highway Patrol. And so he was used to that terminology and kind of knew what to search for, being as how he's seen so many accidents. And so he found a doctor that was a trauma specialist. His name's Dr. Don Wiss. And he surgery after surgery. Well, I had a team of doctors and they would come in the hospital and huddle up like a football team and make decisions. And I remember the first time that Dr. Thorderson, Dr. Wiss came in the hospital with all the other nurses, and they looked at my leg and they were looking at the screen, and they sat back and kind of was like, and the one Dr. Thorderson looked at me and he said, "Do you have a strong stomach?" And I said, "Yeah, I want to see what it looks like." And he said, "Okay." And he switched the monitor around and he let me see the x-ray of my leg. And it was just like if you took a cracker and crumbled it, the bones were just disintegrated in my leg. Now, when I looked down at my leg, it was held together with rods. It was completely open. So I could see on the inside of my leg. And it was wild. And part of me was like, oh, wow. So that's what the gastrocnemius looks like. That's what the soleus muscle looks like. Being a personal trainer, I kind of was in awe of the striations of the muscles. And I know that sounds crazy, but I was just so focused on one day at a time, just what I could do in that day to get a healthier mindset, a strong mental, toughness about me, and to be as strong as I could, just to take it one day at a time. So I didn't focus on how many surgeries. I didn't know how many surgeries, but I focused, okay, how am I going to get through this next day and this surgery? And I'm telling you, when I look back at those days, it's a miracle. And I realized how much your mindset has to do with when you're going through tough challenges. And so I think it's really important to focus on things that you can do in the moment to quickly shift your mindset. And for me, that was to practice gratitude every day. And that's something that I've carried on with me, and I do every single day to this day. And it really shifts your mindset to what you can do instead of what you can't do. And it really shows you the blessings that you have in your life, and really shows you all the things that you do have instead of what you don't have. Because it's hard when you're in the middle of a challenge, and sometimes it's hard to be grateful. And that's why I call it a gratitude practice, because I have to practice it every day.
And now when you share this, you were in pain. Okay, share a little bit about, when you had pain, even if you would have amputated your leg, when you might have decided later down, as your story goes, it wouldn't have changed that. Like some people like, just take because it was so unbearable, people want to say, just take it off, take my leg off. I'd rather not have pain forever, because you're going to have it every day, endure it. And then you were told, even if you remove your leg, you were still going to have pain. Share a little bit about that.
Well, about a year, I had done all these surgeries. I was probably at this time, a year later, I was probably on, I don't know, surgery maybe 24 or 25. And my leg was giving me so much pain. It didn't work properly. And I had this brilliant idea. I was like, I'm just going to go to the doctor and tell him to cut it off. And when I went in, I said, this just gives me too much pain. I can't deal with the pain. I was trying every kind of procedure, every kind of medical procedure. I mean, we had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. I had Eastern, Western medicine. At one point, I was on 73 homeopathic pills a day, along with 11 prescription medications. I had done ketamine infusions in hopes to reboot my nervous system, because with CRPS, it's a constant loop of pain. It's ranked higher than passing a kidney stone, than having a baby, than an amputation. And I can attest to, I've passed a kidney stone and had kids. And some days, especially when you're in a flare up, it does give you more pain. And there's really not much that helps. And so I said, I'd love just take my leg, because I can't deal with this pain. And I thought if they amputated my leg, then the CRPS would stop. And he said, well, we can't do that. It may cause your pain to get worse. It may cause it to spread. And so it was at that moment that things got real, that I had to really look at the cards that I had been dealt. And now some of you listening might not have chronic pain, but pain is pain. And any kind of pain, whether it's emotional or physical, it's sometimes really hard to navigate your way through. And I think the first step to any healing or any recovery or any sort of transformation is to start by having some self-awareness, to really get an acceptance. So it was in that moment that I not only had to accept that these are the cards I've been dealt and it's up to me how I'm going to play these cards out, but it also something really life changing happened for me. Something that, my doctor was amazing and did all these surgeries, but he also is the one who really sparked the self love for myself again, because I didn't love myself. In fact, I hated the way that I looked. I had a lot of shame about the way I looked, going from being a fitness model and doing infomercials and fitness videos to now all of a sudden being all scarred up and deformed. I remember the day when I told him to amputate my leg. He sat down in front of me and he grabbed my leg and he put it in his lap. And my first thought was, wow, I
He's
can't believe
touching
he's
it, right?
put,
I read that. I heard that part of you. Like, he's touching you
yeah,
because
like,
you're ashamed of it. Like some of us
yes.
are parts of our bodies. Yeah.
And usually, if you're at the doctor's office or something, you're sitting on the table and maybe your leg is just on the table. I felt like honestly almost felt like it wasn't a part of me. It was just like this damaged, broken limb. And he didn't put it on put my leg up or slide the table out so I could rest my leg. He took my leg and he put it in his lap. And I thought, oh my gosh, he's putting my ugly leg on his nice white coat. And he looked at it like it was a piece of art. It was his masterpiece. Like, this was the leg that had a 1% chance of being saved. And he saved it. And the way he looked at it and touched it, something shifted in me. And I thought, wow, if he can look at it this way, maybe I can learn to look at it that way too. Maybe I can learn to love myself a little bit more. And so every day it was hard, but I started to love myself a little bit. I started to shift my perspective into gratitude, into, wow, I am so grateful that I can stand on my legs. I'm so grateful that, my leg is healing the way it is. And that's really alchemy. And so, although it might be hard when things happen, when things don't go as planned, there are ways to get through some of the toughest times. And there are ways to overcome adversity and have the life that you've always imagined, even though, maybe your circumstances have been narrowed. But I think when you get into a place of, instead of why me, like, why not me? What's next? What are my options? What can I do? It puts you in the driver's seat of your life and gives you the ability to make decisions and take action to make your life the best that it can be.
How did you handle? Okay, so let's talk about living in California. I do realize people show more of their bodies because it's warm. They have a lot more. I always notice that when I go to California. It's like, everybody's enjoying this. How did you go out in the world? Did you cover your leg up for a while? How did you deal with the I guess, kind of deformity of your leg compared to your other one? Very
Oh
noticeable,
gosh,
you know?
yeah. I remember I remember one day it was about 100 degrees outside and I was going to lunch with a girlfriend of mine and I was wearing shorts and I had these like knee-high boots on and she goes, "It's so hot outside. Are you going to wear those boots?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to wear something to cover up my leg for the rest of my life. I don't want anybody to see the way I look." I was embarrassed of the way I looked. And like I said, that took time, but I realized, I have two daughters and I thought I can be an example of resilience. I can be an example of how to really love and accept yourself, or I can be an example of a victim of shame. And I thought, I want my daughters to grow up thinking that they can do anything in life. They can go after their dreams no matter what they look like. And so I remember just thinking, going to the beach for the first time and not wearing a compression sock to cover up my leg. And my husband was even a little, he's like, "Oh, shouldn't you cover that up? The sun, what if the skin grafts get sunburned, or what if you cut yourself?" And so although I've learned I do have to protect my leg in case I stepped on a bee at the beach the other day. That was not fun, especially since I'm allergic to bees. But it took just doing it and starting to go out and starting to get comfortable in my own skin. And now I can go in public in shorts. And, especially I had a doctor when I was being released from the hospital. And I was like, I can't wait to get home and train clients again. I can't wait to run again. And he's like, ooh, I don't know if you'll ever run again. And you'll probably never wear shorts again with all those scars. And that was, at first, it felt like a kick in the gut.
Yeah.
But then that has been one of my biggest motivating moments. And I thought, I am going to run again and I am going to wear shorts again. And it took me 2 years, but I was able to run on the beach with my daughter. It wasn't very pretty. I fell, I got back up, I laughed, I cried. It was very
Was it
emotional, but I
painful?
ran again
Was
and
it
I was in
painful?
my bikini.
Was it
What?
painful? Like, did you feel pain when you
Oh
ran?
yeah, yeah. I'm not a runner like I used to be. I mean, I used to train people how to pace themselves for marathons. I set a record in Texas for running the fastest mile. Now, I'm sure that's been broken a long time ago,
Right.
but I was a runner. I ran everywhere. People would see me running all over town, and I can't run that way anymore. I can chase after my daughter, but the pain that it causes me, I learned that I was the definition of insanity because I kept trying to do it and do it over and over again. And it would have the same result. I would get a CRPS flare up. So now I can run a little bit, but I think you have to weigh out, is this causing me more harm than it is good? Is this moving me closer to my goal or further away from my goal? With anything you do in your life, is it moving the needle on your business or is it just, causing harm? So I think that after a long time going, what are some other things that I can do to still move my body, to still get those endorphins going? Because endorphins combat pain and they make you feel good. And so now I can hike, I can ride a bike, and it's all how you look at things. The other day, my daughter, who just turned 13, loves to run. She's a runner. She loves to run. She goes, Mom, let's go for a run. Will you go for a run with me? And I looked at my husband and I said, oh, it's a shame I can't run. I wish I could run. And I started getting depressed. And he goes, well, get on your bicycle and ride your bike beside her. And I thought, oh, yeah. Sometimes we just need someone else to kind of
Think
give
about
us
it.
ideas, shift our perspective a little bit. There's always a different way around. If one door's closed, maybe there's a window open around the corner or a back alley door, or there's another way. So I think sometimes we get boxed in and that we have to do a certain thing. Or for me, I felt like resilience was bouncing back, but it's not. I didn't bounce back to my old life. I don't do my fitness career anymore, although I do still train some clients because I just love training.
Right.
I bounced forward. Resilience is about bouncing forward and reinventing yourself. It's really about finding the courage to move forward and, choosing a life filled with laughter and love no matter what happens. And we all have the ability to tap into that resilience, but we have to get intentional about creating those habits that support the life that we want to live.
All right. So before we move on to some of the programs that you have developed, your book, how you said you had 34 surgeries. How did you cover all that? I mean, financially. I mean, for us
Oh my
living here in
gosh.
Michigan, I mean, we all have medical cost and doing with our insurance. How did you get people to do surgery, and did you have worries on how you're going to cover all that? You
Oh
said it was a
gosh, yeah,
million.
it was horrible going from being the breadwinner of the family to now I was out of work for a year and a half. We went through my savings completely. I always have, I was always big on at least having money to fall back, in case something happened. Well,
Right.
we went through all of my savings. We had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. We didn't know that some of the doctors that were treating me, like my pulmonary doctor, was not covered by my insurance. They were out of network. Thank goodness we have really great insurance thanks to my husband working, he worked being a commander with highway patrol. But we had a lien on our house. We had to borrow money from a friend and we paid him back with interest. We had to get really frugal with things. I had a property, an investment property that I rented out. We had to sell that. Of course, my motorcycle was demolished and we got some money back from the motorcycle, but it was really tough. And I was thankfully had a business where I had employed several other trainers and they were able to continue working. So I still did make some money from that. But I was motivated and thankfully my husband has a good job. But it was tough. And I was motivated to get back to work, not just to make money, because I needed my clients, I think, more than they needed me. I needed a purpose. I think that when you're going through any kind of hardship, if you can tap into having a purpose and be of service, it can inspire you. The human spirit is powerful beyond measure, and it can inspire you to get up when you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm going to get out of bed today. Some days, just being a mom and being in so much pain, I would just hear my daughter's voice and all I would have to hear was mama. And I was like, okay, I got this. I'm going to do this. So, little by little, we were able to repay my friend. I have a friend. I think community is powerful. Throughout all of this, I started a support group called Turn Pain to Purpose, and it's actually on Clubhouse. I don't know if you're familiar with the app Clubhouse, but I started a support group for people who are going through trauma or have chronic pain or any kind of pain that they're struggling with. And the power of community blows my mind, because when I was going through all this, I didn't have a GoFundMe. I didn't really know about that. We just managed to work it all out and thankfully worked through it. But my girlfriend was having a surgery and her doctor was out of network and she had to come up with $19,000 in 1 week. With this support group, I invited her in. I shared her story. She was able to talk about where she was on her journey, and everybody tweeted about it. We posted about it, and we raised $19,000 in 1 week so she could have her surgery, which when she had her surgery, the very next day, the doctor said, you had your surgery in just the right amount of time. You had compartment syndrome and you could have lost your leg from the leg up instead of the knee down. And so, or the leg down instead of the knee down. And so I think it's really important to surround yourself with a great community that you can lean on and they can help you through those times. So if anybody's listening and you need to be loved on, come to my True Grit and Grace Clubhouse room, because it's all about positivity and support, and it's free. You just can come and get some tips and tools to get you through tough times too. And so I encourage people to surround yourself with really people who are passionate and inspired, and be very careful of those ambition thieves.